Hey guys, we are back for Esther chapter 7. I'm just going to hop right into it. If you haven't seen these videos before, all your links are below. Make sure you watch the other videos first, and let's just jump right in. So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet, and as they were drinking wine on the second day, the king again asked, "Queen Esther, what is your petition? It will be given to you. What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted." So look at God's timing in this moment. If Esther had asked this request the previous night, like she originally intended, God's glory wouldn't have been on display like it's about to be. The king once again asks Esther for her request, and this time God's timing is perfect. Everything has unraveled this day in order to make this request seriously stick and just really stand out in the king's mind. So, the Queen Esther answered, "If I had found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life, this is my petition, and spare my people, this is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king." So Esther humbles herself. She knows that her people are not treated well. She doesn't ask for like a great treatment or anything. She only asks for her and her people's lives to be spared. And she appeals to the king's desire for power as well by mentioning that this would be a great loss to him. She says, basically, I wouldn't bother you except for I am to be killed and all my people are to be killed. And so it's a really humbling way to ask for this request. And it's a very smart way because remember that both the king and Mordecai don't know that Esther is Jewish. So let's jump to verse 5. King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, "Who is he? Where is he, the man who has dared to do such a thing?" Esther said, "An adversary, an enemy, this vile Haman." Then Haman was terrified before the king and queen. So here's the moment. The king demands to know who would do such a thing and undermine the king. And you can probably see where this is going. So Esther exposes Haman for who he truly is, a selfish enemy of the king. He never had good intentions for the king, but only for situations that would suit him and his ego. And again, remember, Esther never told anyone that she was Jewish. So this was probably quite a shock to both of these men. Haman has essentially now been accused of attempting to murder the queen and her people. And Haman is rightly terrified. He realizes the extent of what has just happened. And remember, the king just honored Mordecai the Jew as well, that he had just done earlier that day. So it's two Jewish people that he honors and he respects. And basically he just found out that Haman is trying to murder the two of them as well as many other people. At the time that Haman made this decree and made this request of the king, he played it off as though these people were people that were against the king. They would riot, they would rise up against him. And now the king is understanding that this is something with Haman, not with the Jewish people. So let's stop there for a second and make some notes. The king got up in a rage. He left his wine and went out to the palace garden. But Haman, realizing that the king had already decided his fate, stayed behind to beg Queen Esther for his life. Just as the king returned from the palace garden to the banquet hall, Haman was falling on the couch where Esther was reclining. The king exclaimed, "Will he even molest the king while she is still with me in the house?" As soon as the word left the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. So the king was likely realizing the extent of what he had just been told. Haman had fooled him. He sent a decree meant to murder his king and her people. He undermined the king through all of it just for Haman's personal gain. And Haman knows that begging to the king is a lost cause, so he stays and begs forgiveness from Esther instead. And the king comes back from realizing all of this to find Haman essentially assaulting Esther. Either the phrasing here could mean that he was assaulting her or molesting her with like his pleas, that he was like almost attacking her, or it is also believed in some texts that the angel Gabriel literally pushed Haman onto the couch as the king was returning. Either way, this was the final blow. Haman's head was covered in preparation for his execution, and the king has essentially given him the death sentence. Then Harbona, one of the eunuchs attending the king, said, "A pole reaching to a height of 50 cubits stands by Haman's house. He had it set up for Mordecai, who spoke up to help the king." The king said, "Impale him on it." So they impaled Haman on the pole he had set up for Mordecai, and the king's fury subsided. So the guilty dies, the innocent survived this battle, and the king is basically satisfied with this ending. At least for now, some form of order is established. And although we will get into the next few chapters kind of what happens next, because as we've talked about, a decree can't just be canceled. So the Jewish people are still in danger, but the one who put them there is now dead. And it's just a role reversal again, that Haman is killed on the very pole that was meant for Mordecai. So let's make a couple notes and we'll wrap this up. Okay, guys, so that is it for Esther chapter 7. The justice in this chapter is just really satisfying. It's the bad guy, getting what he deserves, and it is a really beautiful just arrow pointing at God's plan and his promise to his people. So again, even though God isn't ever mentioned in the book of Esther, his presence is really apparent throughout this whole thing. So if you want to dig into this deeper, I have all the study notes linked below, as well as some study questions to help you just kind of think about this. But otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.